Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time reviewing on the Knuckles TV show from the Sonic the Hedgehog film series. Now, as you know, the Knuckles TV show was a 6-episode miniseries that, was on the streaming service Paramount Plus, which is meant to be a spin-off to the Sonic the Hedgehog film series and setting up in between Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I think after sitting down to watch the TV series and trying to share my thoughts on it, the best I can say is that it's being the first film, but putting Knuckles in the main character role and going with a totally different story. So, the premise of the TV series is meant to follow Knuckles the Echidna, who is met by the spirit of Pachacamac, who obviously gives him the advice and wisdom to continue the ways of the Echidna. And we see how Knuckles the Echidna decides to train Wade Whipple in the ways of the Echidna, and helping him with the sort of upcoming bowling tournament to go against his father. And over the course of the TV show, you do see how Knuckles has to make sure that Wade understands the ways of the Echidna. We kind of see how Wade has to kind of decide what's best for himself and have to kind of overcome being a kind of insecure man-child, while also avoiding two corrupt gun agents and a evil black market dealer known as the Buyer. And the best I can say is that the Knuckles TV show works in some ways, but there are ways that I think that the TV show could have been a lot more handled better. I think it would have been nice to have seen Tikal as the role of Knuckles' spirit guide. You could have had Knuckles' mum Tikal as the mother of Knuckles, also offering Knuckles the advice and wisdom that he still needs, and even have Knuckles revealed that Pachacamac, who could have been his grandfather, set it up Tikal, who was his mum, and his father to be together to birth a sort of precautionary heir. And it would show Knuckles in the same role as Wade was. It would have been nice to have seen Tikal trying to be there to be emotional support to Knuckles, trying to help him overcome his insecurities when he was a kid. And I think it would have been nice to have had Amber Stevens West for the voice of Tikal, because when I hear her as the voice of Athena from the TV show Craptopolis, I think she can fit what I think that same spark Knuckles has, and I think could really fit that well. And I think having the two rogue gun agents, Mason and Willow Barbie, I think do work as corrupt officials. Like, you can kind of tell Willow Barbie does make some justified points about Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, and does deserve a little bit of respect. I think the problem with the Buyer is that he's just there to be a replacement to Robotnik, and this being the TV show's take on Snively. I think what made Snively work was that he was literally the sort of Starscream to the whole Robotnik empire. I think the Buyer is trying to be Snively, but doesn't feel interesting. He doesn't feel tragic. He's just there to be kind of like a mustache-twirling villain with the same beard and appearance as Robotnik. There's nothing interesting about him. But I think what makes Wade's story more believable is how, you do see Wade actually having to try and learn the ways of the Echidna, but also having to understand about his own father, Pistol Pete. And you do see Wade having to learn a valuable lesson, that the good he saw in him was just a reflection of his own, and because of it, Pistol Pete used it to his advantage. And you did see how his mum did try to actually get him to see reason, but sometimes kids usually have to learn things the hard way. It's just part of life, which I think a lot of us had to go through. And I think, in a way, having a Knuckles TV show is an interesting idea. and I think it's like looking at the whole IDW comics, because it takes a break from Sonic. It actually knows it has to be something different, because looking at the IDW comics, Tangle and Whisper was more about, yeah, Whisper having to avenge her teammates, but Tangle having to be the voice of reason. Bad Guys was more about Starline working with the lowest of the low, but manipulating them to get his own ambitions and own greedy ends. The whole point of Imposter Syndrome was meant to show Surge as well as Kitsumi these dark reflections of what Sonic and Tails could have been. Or it's like looking at Scrapnik Island. It is supposed to show, obviously, a more darker, more kind of grittier take on what happens to the whole Badniks after they get tossed away like scrap. And I think really the whole point of the Knuckles TV show is meant to be Knuckles teaching Wade the lessons of the Echidna. You can tell he slowly understands Wade's a lot different from him, and this does remind me of that one Knuckles comic that I reviewed about Trip the Sungazer. It did show, in a way, Trip was a lot different from Knuckles, and Knuckles had to learn a valuable lesson that, yeah, people aren't you, and you can't expect them to be a copy and paste version of you. And I think the best I can say about the Knuckles TV show, it's got moments where it works, it's got moments where it needs to be something completely different, but it also knows it can't replicate the same formula like the other Sonic films. So I think it definitely deserves 2 thumbs in the middles. It's not a bad introduction, it's not one of the best, but it's one of those TV shows that's going to be there to try and do something different with the whole Sonic film genre. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.